your name?
Raven.
Raven.
Raven, the bird.
Raven.
The black
you're
bird.
Raven, okay.
I'm Raven, yes. Nice to meet
I
you.
always ask because I want to know who's who when I'm on Hangouts, who I know I'm
Oh,
talking to.
I'm Raven, yes, I'm Raven.
Okay.
I don't know if I know you.
Alia.
Alia. I don't think I've seen you in Hangouts, but
Yeah, you
I'll look
probably
at
have.
Okay.
Alia, maybe?
Go ahead.
Maybe.
I'll check it.
Maybe.
But the
Not on that often, but
the next topic we're going to ask is
Content over everything.
what should the next generation be learning from a black perspective? So as fathers or teachers, what skills do we think are valuable for the next generation to learn?
Oh, I know exactly. A brilliant skill.
Look yourself out.
Interaction with people.
So you think, okay, so do you feel that there's a issue in the black community when it comes to interaction?
Oh, no, I thought you meant in general. Sorry.
Well, here's what
With the black community? With everybody?
Maybe, it might be.
How we interact with people in a good manner, in a good way. How, if you notice in schools, they spend a lot of hours teaching you about geography, history, a lot of stuff that maybe you're never ever going to really want to use, but they don't spend a lot of time on character.
Ethics.
Yes, improving your character. How do you deal with people? How do you deal in adverse situations when you're angry? Do you start swearing? Do you start insulting? Or do you have sabr? Do you have patience? Do you say calm? Don't use adjectives, etc. to describe someone?
I think that's a parent's choice.
Facts.
I think parents.
Parents.
I think parents.
No, parents can't always do that. Schools need to do it as well because of the fact that you're in school all day long and dealing with different things. So it's not just parents, because a lot of children, once they get to that age of puberty, they don't really they're not listening to the parents as much then.
Become a bit hostile,
You see what is going on. I think what you're referring to is the pedagogy, meaning the educational content needs to be, instead of very, very secularized. Right now, what you have is the educational content being very secularized, in that it focuses on like sciences more, like hardcore, subjects,
exactly,
rather than combining an ethical approach to these subjects that creates a very holistic human being to be able to do that. So you are saying that from a very tender age, along with the ethics, like being able to deal with people, then you also need to be able to incorporate in these children a lot of social, like how to social outreach programs and so on, social outreach programs and so on.
Because I think when I grew up, sorry?
Abu Suleiman.
Abu Suleiman. When, like for instance, from my culture, growing up, it's always about when you get into an argument, when you get into a kind of interaction, you result to wanting to hurt that person verbally. So it's all about insulting back. You this, you that, oh this, oh that. It's wrong.
What culture is that?
I'm English.
So you say
I'm English, but I was raised in America, so my family are English.
So would you say a European kind of
I
English?
would say English European, yes. And that's the way I kind of grew up. There wasn't this, control yourself verbally, There just wasn't that. It wasn't thinking. You're not thinking as much. You're just reaction. It's all reaction.
Would you say it's like to dominate, dominating kind of?
Dominating and attacking verbally, verbal attacks. Yes. You see a lot of that now anyway online. I mean, it's rife.
Yeah, you're going to see a lot.
It's rife. It's just brutal sometimes, very brutal. And this doesn't help. It never helps the situation, because the minute you say something insulting, that person's wall's getting higher and higher and higher, and eventually you're not going to break through the wall. They're not going to take anything you say, and they're not going to make any sense of what you say.
Yeah, I hear that. So do you think the curriculum we have at the time for the youth is working, or do you think it needs to be reviewed?
I don't think it's working.
I don't think it's working at all. I think the spirituality within this curriculum, they're absent because of the nature of the secularized. The setting up of the curriculum has been very, very secularized, that removes spirituality from the processes. That's what I think. So it becomes affected, and we see the impact amongst the youth. We see in the reports and so on, the crime rates and all of these different things as a result of spirituality being void, country.
So what would you change in the curriculum? What if you could have power to change the curriculum of what the youth would?
Well, you'll have to do a critical analysis. The curriculum one needs to do a critical analysis of the curriculum. curriculum, it depends on the context of the curriculum. Like
Right.
who is the curriculum addressed to?
Yeah.
So if it's America, for example, let's say you're dealing with an ethnic minorities. Let's say black people, for example. Instead of maybe focusing so much on the transatlantic slavery, for example, we need to show African heroes as well.
Yeah.
You know, we need to show where they had their beginnings, historic things, to develop a sense of self-esteem, help with their self-esteem.
So you're saying that the history lesson that black students are learning, by showing being dominated, that could affect their self-esteem.
Could affect that, because if they're feeling that okay we have been enslaved and they're feeling this in the society as inferior, then they're going to act like this.
Right.
But there needs to be a balance. Yes, you need to show that these things happen, but they need to show as well that their forefathers did great things as well and they contributed. We know that in the American context, you had African Americans who contributed as well to the society. So those things need to be highlighted as well to develop some kind of self-esteem.
So that's a revision of history.
There needs to be a revision. Yeah, a revision of history.
Not a
is
retelling,
important.
but a further expanding of history.
Yeah, it needs to be a further expansion. And secondly, within the curriculum, what I notice is a lot of people are being they go to school just to go into the workforce.
Okay.
You see, now you have a rise in inflation, and you see that there's the gap between the rich and the poor continues to widen.
Right. Okay.
So when we are educating our people, they need to understand like entrepreneurship, real things that gets them, that opens up opportunities to empower
So
themselves.
are you saying at the moment a lot of the children are being taught how to work for someone,
Absolutely.
and then they say how to work for themselves and to create
Absolutely.
business?
See?
I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, so those kind of things. Secondly, the curriculum needs to be vast, so people need to know about politics. People should go into there's a political aspect, there's a journalism, there are a number of different disciplines. You understand that they need to know. So for example, journalism and communication studies and all of that, strategic communication, would help to counter some of these narratives. When they see the negative narratives, by having these fields of specialization, they're able to target, they're able to address these narratives that are negative.
But you will have to have a tangible step. So
Absolutely.
You will literally have to take out certain things they're studying and replace it with something else. So you would have to have actual classes of body of thought. So, for example, you might have to have a journalist class, right?
Of
And
course.
That'd be good.
Yeah, and they'll have to come at a certain age group. Right? 'Cause I'm not too sure when throughout the years, obviously you go through different lessons, and I remember that at a certain point you actually pick lessons so long ago.
So they say.
Huh?
So they say.
So they
it's
say.
at that age that you start picking
Yeah,
lessons.
but then maybe that's the
You know,
point.
like they make things like, for instance, music mandatory. Like, not every child is musically inclined. So you're making a child who's not at all musically inclined, you're making it a mandatory subject, where apparently my understanding is it's coming to a point where you're not going to be able to take your children out of music classes or something like that. But it's like, well, hold on a minute. You know? Or art. Some kids are not autistic. They're just not. You know? Why don't they introduce more things you can do with your hands, etc., that kind of work?
Do you think?
Give a choice.
Do you think, so you think giving a choice at a younger age is
I think it's better. I mean, you've got gymnastics and Olympic athletes. Like they start from a very young age, gymnastics, don't they? They're really little. You've got these little kids learning how to dance. I'm telling you, these little girls, they're like 5 years old and they are dancing like grown women. So if you can learn how to dance at that young age, I'm sure you could learn something much more. I'm not saying anything wrong. I personally don't think it's okay to have a little kid dancing like a full-grown woman, but that's my opinion, and that doesn't mean anything, but to me. But if you can get a small child to learn something like how to dance at 5 years old to dance like a grown woman, surely you can teach a little boy or a little girl how to do something really useful, really fruitful. And I think there needs to be a lot of instruction into individualism. School teaches a lot of sheepism. We're a bunch of sheep. We're very sheepy. We're very easy to control. You can see that by, like I think one of you said, how we follow on these trends. and I've said this before in the past, I hope nobody's dressed like this, but and I've said this to young black men in my area. I've actually walked up to them and I said, you do realize that when you wear sagging trousers, you're doing nothing for your self-respect and the respect of the black man. I said, because basically they're trying to bring the black man down by making you look absolutely ridiculous with your trousers hanging off your bum. And this is not something which is productive for you. It's not making you look like a man, which I can rely on. Do you understand what I mean? It just gives a really weird view, however it may be bad, because you should, in society, dress how you want. But it gives a really negative, like, well, that person not really got much.
So are you saying that social skills? Oh, you're coming in. Yeah. So you want to talk about social skills as a lesson? That's something we can tackle.
Social skills, definitely. Social skills, like I say, not being sheep, being an individual, but being able to cooperate. So that's two skills. You have to be your own person, but also be able to cooperate. Okay, and I also think that they should match up, because in schools it's very cliquey as well. You sometimes get a lot of cliques. It might be racial, according to race or age or whatever, but especially racial. And I think racially, I think they should join up people more opposite, like a different race. So you're being exposed from a young age and all the way through. That it doesn't matter, like the color of a person's skin. We're the same. We're not different in the sense of inside. We are not different. All we've got is a different color skin. That's it.
Well, I mean, this is this corner is particularly to tackle the African and Caribbean kids and what they would need to improve their realities, right? Now, I suspect it is very similar to other people groups, right? However, the fact that there is that separation already going on, that shows that there's something there already that where the children feel they need to be separated.
Yes, exactly.
See, so that's already an issue. Right?
Exactly.
For instance, I grew up.
Can you come in a bit? I can't hear you. Thank you.
I grew up in this city. I went to school in Ealing.
You went to school where?
Ealing.
Ealing.
Yeah. And I basically, the school I went to was mostly Indian.
It's mostly what?
It was mostly Indian.
Indian.
Yeah, it was in the southern area of Ealing.
Yeah.
So, like, basically, I learned how to, communicate with people, who are different than me. And I had friends who are, from different races. Like, I think that when you talk about like individuals going to like and making friends with people who are from the same, people group and all that, I think the individuals who are, I think the individuals who weren't exposed to different cultures. I think, when it comes to London and all that, somebody, around my age and all that, he'll probably, or your age, he'll probably, have friends outside their ethnic group. I think it's more in suburban areas, outside city limits, and USA, especially USA.
I think like is always with like. I mean, even for us, like revert Muslims, most of my friends are revert Muslims. Most, I would say 90%. Not because I chose it. I didn't say it right. I'm only going to have
just
revert.
the commonality.
It just that's who you. When you go places, you have something in common. Everybody else is off in their own little cliques.
Are you friends with traditional Muslim people rather than reverts?
I do have traditional.
But not as much. Not as much.
My closest friends, no.
So,
not from choice though. It's not from choice. I guess it's just.
And I think that goes in the school. So that's probably why you get that kind of.
It's not a problem, but I think in school, I mean, obviously you always hang with where you feel the most comfortable. But I think in school there needs to be a much more of a a kind of a understanding that, like they should be doing things like study or exercises where, for instance, maybe you can't see each other's skin and you're just communicating, or like that woman, I don't know, there's this woman who did a research, didn't she, where she had the two groups of people, middle-aged woman, and she had the two groups of people.
Oh, you're talking about Jane
Elliot or something. Jane Elliot.
Is it? And she had
the blue eye test.
Yeah.
Yes. To show.
So what this is talking about is there's students will go to a classroom, and then the teacher would separate them by their eye color. and she'll tell one of the eye color people to mistreat the other eye color people.
I think she started off in the 3rd grade in some school in Iowa.
She started in America where she was trying to emulate how black students were feeling with discrimination. So she changed it down to the eye colors.
And the blue-white kid, or white, I seen it with more adult people, but the blue-eyed white people were the ones who were actually the underdogs this time. It was the other way around. To give them, there needs to be a bit more kind of deep. It's all right to just be in a classroom and say racism is not acceptable, but it's easy to say racism is not acceptable, but you need to make someone feel it. When you feel something, that's when you make changes.
So you're saying that just by saying it's like lip service?
Exactly, it's lip service. Okay, of course you should say it. I'm not saying you don't say it, but I think it needs to be things like racism and it needs to be followed up with other things, so that and also like with your, like saying from your culture, like you're saying about the black culture and how to improve situation for the black community. I'm not black, so it's hard for me to say too much because I haven't experienced that. But I just think a lot of it has to do with internal things need to change from the inside. It needs to be worked on in that way. It's easy to say to a black woman, your big Negro hair is, I don't know how you say it, so forgive me if I've said it incorrectly. Your curly hair is beautiful. It's easy to say that, but they've got to be able to feel it. They need to be able to feel it or accepting it. Because I can understand a black woman who maybe wants her hair straight, because when I was younger, I wanted my hair curly because I had got straight hair. So I wanted it curly, but I didn't hate my straight hair because it was white hair. Do you understand?
Right.
So the thing is changing the thinking of hating it because it's, or maybe not liking it, or being ashamed of it because it's, African curly hair, than just not liking it because it's your own personal preference.
Well, the answer to that question is to create. Once you create a balance, then these things won't be noticed. If we have an influx of people of African descent having more naturalistic styles, then they'll be more accustomed to doing it. So there will be no discussion because it'll be a natural thing to do. The perfect example was in the 70s when they all started with afros. Everyone wanted afros, right?
Yeah.
It's that kind of standpoint. But to go back to the teaching. So what we're talking about, brother, is what should we teach to the next generation? Yeah, and we're talking from a black perspective. And what skills do you think are valuable for the black community of children to learn? Do you have any kind of suggestions?
This is kind of my area. I deal with paradigms and frameworks in African-centered education. And there's no one answer to that question, yeah? But I think essentially the major thing for me is not necessarily just the content, but the context of the education and the paradigm from which it's coming, yeah? Because the context defines the outcomes more than the content.
Yep.
And what I mean by that is we can apply electrical engineering to any situation, but the context of it really defines what situation the skill is going to be applied to, yeah? So I feel like in terms of our community, we need to be taught skills along with concepts of independence and frameworks for it, if that makes sense. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, I understand you very well.
Everything all right?
Yeah.
It's on.
We got to start again?
No.
Has it been picking up what we've been saying?
Everything's good.
All right.
Memory card's about to change, so I need to make sure the mic.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So yeah, it's more that for me, yeah. And I feel like there's a need for holistic education. So
Yes,
we're taught subjects compartmentalized and distinct from each other, yeah? Whereas, for example, if a man studying medicine, I learned something the other day that was completely weird to me, that people that study medicine do not study nutrition.
Yes, they get 1 month.
Mad.
1 month
What-
of nutrition
at
out of years.
At the most.
Out of years.
Of 5, 6, 7 years
Yes.
of training to be a doctor,
Yes,
you get
so
a minimal
messed
amount
up.
of
Yeah,
instruction
it's true.
on how to feed the body. This is
Subhanallah, I know.
madness. This is craziness, right? So the point is that, and that's all to do with the compartmentalization of subjects. So medicine is about healing the body from illnesses.
Yeah.
It's not about keeping the body well. You see what I'm saying?
It's not prevention. It's not prevention.
It's mad. So for example, but then in the world that we're living in, there's an economy of medicine. Yeah, just what I'm saying, there's an industry of medicine. There is and the economy is not just in terms of how medicine is distributed, but how it's created. Yeah, which is why, for example, there are places in the world whereby medicine is more readily available than other places. It's because of economies. So I'm saying that if we're learning medicine, if we're teaching and learning medicine, they should learn the economy of their subjects, as well as the skills or the technical know-how of their subjects as well. So it's not even just a subject or skills, it's about giving a holistic kind of idea about what the subject is and how it fits into the world that we're living in at the moment. I hope that.
And because what you said is a very important point. In addition to that, you could have what is called alternative medicine taught within the medical curriculum as well. Because we see that many of the pharmaceutical drugs, there are lots of side effects. You understand? So there needs to be that those things in the curriculum. So here's an opportunity. Here we are discussing regarding the revision of the curriculum, and here's one. So once you see the flaws within the present curriculums, we can look at it. We can extract what is really, really beneficial and good, and we can also add what is, make it stronger, make it better, and so on and so forth.
Can I ask? Do you think that the whole current school system, the way that it's set up, is maybe more of a hindrance towards the youth in regards to when you see a lot of the youth outside, misbehaving, etc. I don't know what else you want to call it. Doing their gang culture, selling drugs, etc., etc., etc. They do that because it makes them feel important. It makes them feel respected. It makes the boys feel like a man. It makes it whatever. They're feeling like people are taking them for their individual. When you're in school and when you're at home, you're being told, don't do this, do that, go to sit. You understand? When you're in school, it's a very much telling off kind of vibe, isn't it?
Right.
Very regimented rather than a. Yeah, so you're going outside to get that rather than.
Yeah, I don't want to. I think your observation is correct, and I think, especially because we're focusing the conversation around black children, I think for a lot of black boys that is a reality. Mm-hmm. Yeah. At the same time, discipline is important.
Of course.
For any process of learning, and especially in an environment whereby we can see that there are systems and forces in society. Ignore the trolls, innit? Ignore the trolls. What was it?
What is he all about? Is he a vegetarian or something?
Let's focus.
Oh, nice one!
So, speaking of discipline.
Well done, yeah, Jedi. Well done.
Speaking of discipline, this is why we like Jedi, Yeah, good.
This is why you like Jedi.
Under my umbrella.
This is why we like Jedi.
Go ahead, you were saying.
It was rude.
Where was I up to?
The man was rude
You
himself.
were talking about the lesson.
Discipline, yeah. So So in the sense of the fact that when we're dealing with, like for example, if we're dealing with situations, like police brutality, there's no reason why our educational process, can't teach us how to deal with those things. You know what I'm saying? That there's no reason that if we're coming from inner city areas.
Speaking freely.
Loud.
Sorry.
Yeah, what's it called? There's no reason why educational environments that are in areas whereby a high percentage of the children are coming from disadvantaged backgrounds can't be organized to address the needs of those children, in the environments, you know what I'm saying? So I'm agreeing, but I don't necessarily think that all young people need to learn to take instruction. Yeah, that is the process. That's just part of the process of learning. You have to be able to respect that there are people that know more than you. Yeah, that you have to listen to. That's what I'm saying. But I think it's more about the educational process instilling a sense of independence, and as it relates to manhood. Yeah. So that to know that me as your teacher, I'm trying to teach you to become a man, rather than subdue your manhood. And so that being a part of the context of the educational system, it can be done, but it requires an entire overhaul, of much of the way the schools are organized at the moment. That's the problem. So in the sense of more teachers need to be trained to do what support workers do with children. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And know that you can't come into the classroom and say, I'm not a social worker. Yes, you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, you're not because of the way the school's organised, but if you have care over children, especially teenagers who have emotion, they come with emotional stuff, you have to be able to, you have to come with a mentality that you're willing to address that, yeah, in some way, shape or form. So yeah, that's just
Can you
my.
be specific? So you've mentioned the fact that teachers need to
think about yourself,
train the same way that social workers.
Yeah.
Be very specific. About
Yeah.
like,
I think you want
what kind
someone
of
else.
So-
need that they don't already have.
So what I'm saying, you're correct to ask the question. What I actually mean more to the point, yeah, is that the school, the nature of schools needs to be changed to facilitate that if it's going to provide the best for the children. It's not something that the teachers can do in and of themselves. Just what I'm saying.
So you've mentioned training.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So what do the teachers need to be trained on specifically?
Yeah.
That social workers do have that teachers don't.
So, in the sense of the fact that when we're talking, like I said, if we're dealing with children, schools, yeah, in areas that are called disadvantaged or have a high percentage of disadvantage and kind of things there, family issues, yeah, there are certain skills that you're supposed to get. I'm gonna say supposed to get if you're a social worker to address those kind of problems, yeah. Such as just actually understanding the impact of particular issues on families and the young people that come from those families, strategies and methodologies, paradigms for addressing them kind of things there, yeah? That obviously, when children go to school, these issues are playing out in the schools, yeah? It's a reality. So, but it would seem, or popular wisdom would suggest, that the school environment is not conducive for addressing those issues within the school environment. You see what I'm saying? So it's either, the solution is when the children present these problems, oftentimes they're removed from their educational environment. So it's like we have to make a choice now. We're either going to address your emotional issues, or we're going to address your educational issues. Yeah, and I'm saying that.
So is there a conflict between?
There's
a conflict between what is being taught at home and what is in the outer society.
You say taught at home, yes. But I'm saying with the exception of the fact that what's being taught at home may not be conscious, it's just a product of the environment at home.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. It may be, and this is not everyone. This is certain circumstances I'm talking about. Yeah. This is my personal opinion. Things that I've studied in it. Right. So I'm just saying that giving the best to the children, which is not possible currently in the educational system that we have at the moment, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. Is about being able to. It's about creating a community environment within education, which I don't think currently exists, which I think does exist in places where, like, you go places, yeah, where people are learning. You got the school is under a tree, yeah, and the teachers are like the parents of the children, and it's a different thing. It's a different kind of. You know what I'm saying? So that there's a more communal environment whereby the care of the children goes beyond what I'm trying to teach them at the moment. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's a different kind of thing. So yeah, and I've gone somewhere else, different to where Raven was like. In a manner of speaking, but it's more than that. Because I think homeschooling, people get the idea that you're going to stay at home with your children and teach them their ABCs and that kind of thing.
You know what I think is the issue in schools is the schools are like academic. There's no other skills that you learn. Life skills aren't learned in school, and that's what they should do school as life skills, because you do more life skills than you do academia at school.
Right.
In life. So it should be lessons on interpersonal relationships, on your culture, on history of your certain cultures, or certain cultures, rather than just like it's the school system and the curriculum they currently got is just really to kind of there's no benefit of the people when they become adults. There's no benefit there.
Yeah, definitely.
And when it comes to tests and exams, it's all a memory thing. It doesn't make you smarter than anybody else. It's just whether or not you remember something better than somebody else. And that's why you get A's, B's, and somebody else gets C's, D's. It's about remembering. It's
Definitely.
It's practice.
Definitely.
Memory skills.
Definitely.
But where adults go wrong and where the world goes wrong is that they don't know life skills, and they're not being taught life skills when they're growing up, and they're important things. So when they come into relationships, when they come into contact with other people, they don't know how to act. Because their parents didn't know how to act either, so no one's teaching them how to do life, basically.
Definitely.
And we're all just winging it.
Definitely. I'm gonna agree with what you're saying, and that kind of brings back to what Raven asked in terms of what skills, because I believe that one of the major things is to teach theory along with practice, isn't it? Right? So in for example, a guy said the other day something about people want to do what's it? Like mechanical engineering, for example, but they haven't learned algebra. So it's like, but obviously there are these scientific disciplines that require a mastery of mathematics, but we learn mathematics as mathematics and technology as technology. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like, to answer your question, it's more like marrying those two things in it. So teaching, you know what I'm saying, the discipline, the theory, along with the application of it. And I think that will also, in the environment that we live in, whereby there are less jobs, people are graduating from university without jobs, that kind of teaching enables people to be able to be independent in terms of what they produce from their degrees. Part of the problem is that, especially if you go into a science or a technology, like there's no way to practice that because there are so few jobs in these fields a lot of time at the moment. You know what I'm saying? So
that is why. Don't you think that even within these disciplines, so then if you include your ethics in the pedagogy, right? Your ethics as well as entrepreneurship aspects within the curriculum, because what you're having is, for example, if you have the private sector being very contracted, very small, if you don't allow more people who are learning to be able to understand or be financially literate, then they would all have access towards wealth when they graduate, then it is going to cause unemployment. And that is why we see very smart governments, they are investing in entrepreneurship because they want to expand the private sector. You see, so that's what I just wanted to add with regards to, since you gave the example of mechanical engineering. There has to be this inclusion of this thing, because if you do not have any ethics, for example, no kind of practical ethics, then when you get on the job, you're going to be late, you're going to not be able to interrelate with people, and all these things help in the health and the functioning of that company. So you see, if you just learn the raw mechanical engineering, for example, you go into the workplace and you do not know how to interact in the workplace. You do not understand the human resource technicalities. So these things are
I agree.
important.
The ethics thing is important as well, because
See what I'm saying, sister? You understand what I said?
All right. Was you trying to say something? Sorry. All right. The ethics thing is important more as well, because it directly defines what is produced out of it. So we live in a ethics doesn't relate to technological development right now, which is why so much technology destroys the environment and destroys human life. Do you know what I'm saying? Like there's a deficit in terms of human advancement and human life. Like the more we advance, the less quality of life we seem to create for each other. It's mad. It don't make no sense.
Kids
But
don't play it. Can I just say, like, my little sister is 18, and I don't think really she's climbed a tree or like hurt herself in any like real way.
She broke her leg, yeah.
Broke her arm, do you know what I mean? And that all comes from playing out. The social interactions all come from playing out. Like, I understand the world. I'm streetwise because I interacted as a child with other people. But I feel like a lot of people from 2000 onwards, they're just a lot of like adults, 2000 onwards, they just literally
didn't learn,
they've got a disconnect, and that's because of DVDs.
and Nintendo DS. But your earlier point about learning relationship skills, it's very important. But and it plays into even more because of the fact that all these big companies that we see today and them kind of things there, they weren't started by individuals. They were started by collectives of people. And so the social relationship that we're taught through the education is employee-employer. We're taught to relate to employers and get a job, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Whereas I think marrying the relationships with the ethics will be able to teach people to create cooperatives in whatever their field that they, you know what I'm saying? Like all these social medias that we're dealing with right now, yeah. Study the history of it, yeah. All of these things were created by rich white men that were in top universities that related to each other. Their families were connected or whatever, and it was their families and whatever that funded, because all of them are free, but they were receiving private funding from their community institutions.
Well,
yeah, right?
Sorry, go on. I was going to say one thing. I just don't like the thing where in school they like to put people in categories. So like, me personally, I wasn't really good academically, but I'm really good with my hands. So they don't really give you that, they just put you in categories and say, okay, that person doesn't know academically, so that person's kind of dumb. But then they did it, they found out that basically they put the smart kids into the other classes, not the dumb classes, but for a year, and they put the dumb people, they say the dumb people, into the smart classes for a year. And then they found out that the teachers, at the end of the year, the kids were on the same kind of level. So, because if you tell the kids, oh, that kid's kind of dumb, the teachers won't push them as much as they say that the smart kids will get pushed. So then they leave the kids which are quite, they say that they're dumb, and then they automatically that kid thinks he's dumb. And why is they in categories? Do you know what I'm saying to you? Like,
I feel like one thing that like it goes.
Do you get what I'm saying to you?
Point. Yeah, 100%. It's about actually feeding the child.
Exactly.
And the child's skills. And the thing is, we're all very knowledgeable in things that we're interested in.
Exactly.
And school doesn't do that for us. School, like I said, is about literally having a piece of paper at the end of the day. That's what it's about. So everybody in the world, for us to get things equally, we all have a chance at this piece of paper.
Exactly.
Some people are at advantage because, like I said, they're remembering and whatnot.
Exactly. Some audio, some are visual, some are more, you know.
Exactly. But if we go by things, this is the thing though, but you'd be at a disadvantage in the world if, say, you're good with your hands and you wanted to, like, and they, like, pushed you in the carpentry, but didn't care too much about the maths or whatever, they would be putting you at a disadvantage.
Very
so what
true.
you need to do is create a balance and put
Very
the maths,
true.
English, and those other, like, subjects as an addition to life skills.
Also, I think teachers,
Amazing.
also, sorry to interrupt you, I think teachers also should be getting, their wage should be pushed up more.
Teachers should be some of the highest paid people in society.
Exactly. So I think personally,
As a teacher.
exactly. So they don't get paid enough to like really think about this kind of stuff. Do you get what I'm saying to you?
When I heard you a while ago, I said, teaching practice.
But yeah, I think teachers should be getting paid much more than they are at the moment. So why would they, like, they're on 20k, why would they really care? Like, not as in why would they care, but as in like they should be on at least 70, 80k. Like they're teaching the next generation.
No, I believe that teaching salaries should be comparable to doctors and lawyers.
Exactly.
Right. There's no doubt about that for me.
Exactly.
Like, it doesn't make any sense. Right? Whenever, like, I'm not a big strike person. I support most people that are on strike, but I'm not a big one. Yeah. But the ones that I understand the most are the teachers.
Exactly.
Like the fact that to me, the fact that lawyers, for example, and even bus drivers and people that drive trains are better paid than teachers in London right now is criminal. Yeah, like it's absolutely criminal.
It's mad.
That's what I'm saying.
If
Like,
they paid them more, then there'd be more teachers, and we would see more black teachers as well, teaching black youth, especially male black teachers.
Very true. Very true.
Which is important.
And this is the thing, but it kind of goes to, like, how many black men do you know that are teachers?
Not a lot.
More time it will be, not because sometimes maybe that's not a field they've been pushed into or like put into, but it is about money. It's about making money, and unfortunately in the black society, that's a lot of this been pushed on. The materialism.
Like it is to do with money. A lot of the time I feel like it's to do with they're not even reaching platforms whereby they can train.
So
forget even like
the
their salaries. They're not being fed successfully in order for them to even give back to the system.
You see that when studying teaching. I don't know, you know. Robert was asking in terms of seeing them at university level, like our black men going to university studying teaching.
That's what she was just saying. She's saying they're not even getting through the door to be able to be a teacher.
Yeah.
Because of
the funny thing, but we live in a society that doesn't see teaching as a prestigious profession.
Exactly.
Yeah. Those who do, and those who can't Teach. That's what they say, innit? But teaching. Right? You know what I'm saying, right? But
God is here.
that's like you, yeah? Because I'm the God, yeah?
Come on.
But the self-proclaimed.
The God.
You don't want to feel like
Not God. Not God, you know. God. God. The God. He's God.
Go on, interesting topic.
We're talking about education. So I know you're about
You
that.
can't talk much on that.
Yeah? Yeah?
Go ahead.
But what am I saying?
Those who can't teach.
Yeah. Those who can't teach, those who can't do teach, innit? But like for the teaching qualification, like if you've got a degree, you can do a year and get a teaching qualification, innit? But the level of prestige and the financial remuneration from it just doesn't equal the actual importance of the profession itself.
And most teachers teach because they have a passion to do so, and it's because they want to do that.
Yeah.
But I'm saying if the money was there, then you would find more black men wanting to be teachers.
I hear that.
I don't think it's like a downer on black men.
Yeah, no.
I just feel like it's a lot harder for black men to survive in this society.
Definitely.
So they go for jobs with perhaps maybe higher income or easier income and a quicker income.
Definitely.
But if you're gonna put a lot of work in
Definitely.
to get less out, it doesn't make sense.
And that's the second point. But this is particularly ridiculous in London, whereby like the living expenses are so deep that, you know what I mean? Like I was thinking to somebody that they're on 30-something K, so like 25 or 30K, yeah, and like that's supposed to be the salary whereby you can get a mortgage like in London.
No, you can't.
It's not happening,
It's not.
If you're a teacher, you're finished.
Like key workers get.
But then that's not even teachers though. This is general though.
Just saying.
Apparently, affordable housing is as 400,000.
I
just want to say
Black Shia get in.
Black Muslim. Right. So as I was saying, what about the fact that black men may see it as a situation where the type of thing that they want to teach is not something that they'll be able to teach. So for instance, you get some teachers that they might take, like you take it personal. It's like you see one youth here, they're poor. So you actually want to change their personal life, you get what I'm saying? And I'm thinking it's like, is it because the way we approach this is really different as a male? Like the female, she's already seen differently by the students. The male is seen differently by the students. And I'm saying how they see themselves as teachers, I think that's also something to do with it. I don't think it's just a money factor of being ahead of the house.
Because I see a lot of black men in support work, key work, you know what I'm saying, and PRUs. I see a lot of black men in those things, but not necessarily as classroom teachers. When he said,
am I being ignorant in saying that probably is from their own experience and trying to make it better for the next generation?
Definitely, I'd say so.
Some things might hinder them from being a teacher because of their past experience.
Probably,
And also their academic success and what they are bringing to the table academically. You've got to remember, it's not just like you banged, I don't know, your A-levels and then you go into
No.
teaching. It's not like that. And
Question.
You've got to do training post-university as well. So
Did you study? Have you got a degree?
yes.
Is your degree in teaching?
My degree is in my subject, and then you go on to get
to a qualification in teaching, right? Because that's how I know most people do it. They get a degree in something, and they do another year.
You know what? As I asked the question is in regards to the kids. A lot of the kids don't really want to be. They're not really interested. They want to get quick cash. They don't want to be footballers. They want to be rapping. They don't want to do. So a lot of kids are not really interested in becoming like a scientist or
Why is that
stuff like that. But I'm saying as in regard to the new generation.
But do you know why though?
Because they see their role models who are doing all sorts types of nonsense.
Exactly.
That's why their role models.
But it's as well as their
scientist in the world, is it cool?
But also,
that says a lot, doesn't it?
This is what I'm saying. The holisticness. A lot of the times when you see the goal of what a scientist or whatever is doing, it's never going to assist and help your whole community come forward. So it's like you come back and you now left your community, you're assisting someone else forward their goal. Do you understand? So if they continuously see black men qualifying something, and then they come back and use it in their community, then they're going to be like, I'm going to be that in my community. You understand?
There's no institutions of science in the hood. That's what I'm saying. Like, you get me? Like, you know what I mean?
There are.
Not just science.
There's some chemistry labs.
Not just science itself.
The closest we got to it is a ganja farm here and there. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying.
Well, let's not talk about that today. You know what I mean? But that's important because I think one of the major scientific disciplines that our young people can engage in is agriculture.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like, especially in this day and age, yeah, like what, fam, we've got a whole science fiction industry that is based around the world ending and food shortages, yeah, and we're not learning to grow food. It's mad. They're basically telling us this is what we're creating right about now. All these bombs that we're creating is leading to this future, but we ain't learning to grow food.
Yeah, but even funny you say that, because I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So, no,
Come
Yeah.
forward. Come
I'm good. I would personally, I would have linked agriculture
Wash,
to
Sunni
science.
East and Shia East.
I've been saying
I'll
the real East and the other East.
That's it.
Hey, listen.
They normally say opposite. You
I
know?
know, they're chucking it. Agriculture, I've said, is a vital thing, for like black people in order to raise themselves. But it seems as when you mention agriculture, there's not really like any emphasis put towards it. People think of it being a farmer, like
Right.
It's
not considered a science.
Yeah,
Not considered a science.
It's
But how could anyone, let's say, I wanted.
I'm so sorry to cut, but the only thing is, we live in a country, you can't do your agriculture in a council flat. Like, how are you going to grow
but
food for
there's
yourself to eat
Yeah.
in a country? You know what I mean? But I'm saying in London, outside,
No, yeah.
in Scotland, I had like my family has a big house, big garden. My mum used to, she would grow all our vegetables because she had the land to do it. Here, in her garden, it's not
But this is
right, the air's
what would
not
make
right,
it
all that
attractive
stuff.
to the youths. Because to me, the majority thing that I see with the people in the London, right, is that they don't seem to get out of London and see anywhere else.
It's a good
This is
point.
what I keep seeing. Because I'm saying, when I was young, we used to get trips going to Wales, trips going here, and you know what I mean, my dad, all over the place we used to go. So I'm trying to.
Who's funding the
I just wanted to.
I'm saying, listen, you can get a coach.
You've identified the problem.
Yeah.
Who's funding?
I'm saying
We went on school
that
trips
it's
to
very
school.
easy. I'm saying it's very easy. We used to have the summer holiday.
Right,
The
school,
summer.
but who's funding the school?
The government.
We are.
Right, so if
Well,
the funds have been cut, where are you going?
we can easily do that. We can replace that easy. I guarantee you. If you don't,
I don't know about easily,
I'm telling you.
but yeah, I do take your point.
What for a coach?
No,
And
I'm,
a driver
no, but
and a day out.
Yeah, but I'm saying that if we're doing it in a systematic, organised way for the sake of young people in areas to get a world experience,
Right.
it's going to require resources and funding.
Right. Tell me how
You know
much
what I'm
you
saying?
think it would cost to hire a driver and a coach.
No,
and a day out?
but you're saying for a one trip.
No.
We're talking
I'm saying
about
every month or in the summer holidays. You're doing it every week.
It's a good question, and the answer is I don't particularly know. Yeah,
No. I'm saying.
Yeah,
I'm saying. Listen. To hire a coach.
Yeah.
I'm saying to get a coach. Would it be that hard to raise £300-400?
It's a good
For a day out.
it's a good question. I'm just saying that.
She made the point. Sorry, she made the point of saying that it's not just about that. It's about the protection of every single child that's there.
There's a lot of considerations. There's a lot of considerations with it. As an organised program, but your point is well taken. That like because a lot of the education that we get here, like I know people they don't leave their ends, fam. And if they leave their ends for more than 10 minutes, like my foot starts to feel digi in that. You see what I'm saying? Like it's a problem. Like traveling is one. Even in your own country, traveling is just one of it's an educational experience, and I agree with that.
Trust me, I'm saying this will work. All the other stuff that I see the problem to, I'm saying when they go out and see these different things, guaranteed, whatever remember, when
We're
you
not
get
talking about weed
education,
today. No gadget conversation.
We should.
No, we shouldn't.
Weed is
No,
the
we
biggest
shouldn't.
problem.
No, we shouldn't.
One
No, we
sec.
shouldn't. Ah, Lord.
Let's just carry
I'm not on it, fam. I'm not on it today, you know.
One sec, brother. Whatever education they get will always reflect back on their own personal experience in life. So I'm saying if they're going and traveling, I don't know, wherever, the beach. Trust me, the beach is beneficial for people's minds. Laying down on the sand, walking along.
She's trying to say that, she's a teacher, so she's saying there's not a lot of funding for this.
No, I'm not talking about
Yeah, but
going
he's
to
talking about-
them.
he's talking about
I'm
independent-
saying we
he's
go
talking
to,
about
go door to door in a certain community, say, boom, certain youths, maybe one mother can only offer £1, and next one's got extra £100. You get, I'm saying, once you get trustworthy people that can make these collections, you can videotape you collected the money, whatever it takes. I'm saying it's not as expensive.
You know what would be great if we brought back the youth clubs, because I used to go to the adventure playground.
I used to always go youth.
Right,
And the
exactly.
adventure playground I used to go to, we would go on little trips.
Exactly,
together.
that's what I'm
Do you know
saying.
what I mean? And my
Is there
mum
no more
would
youth
play a
clubs?
little bit. No, there's no adventure
Youth club
playground.
walk, youth club walk, fam.
Are you serious?
That's why the youth are
There's
on the
hardly,
streets stabbing each other.
they even say that,
Conservative
fam.
government.
The youths even say that, fam.
Conservative
Not
government.
across the
Cameron
board.
and me. Cameron and me.
Right.
If they're there, they're normally instigated as a side thing. like someone else, but you know, it's under some other banner, like maybe a religious thing, a religious meeting, and then they bring the youths there. Because I've seen that done. You get me? They're saying, oh, they're coming here to learn about religion,
which
but
is
then they're playing tennis.
Which is a point, because there is a criticism of the fact that that institutions like churches,
right, get better funding.
Yeah, and they don't pay taxes.
Right.
But
you go.
know, we've got a lot of churches in our communities that we could utilize the community more if they were organised so to do. But I take your point on your point about agriculture, and I come across you. I don't know, I'm not expert myself, but I come across people that teach urban farming, yeah, like turning your garden into a farm, or you know what I'm saying, or you know, using the windows in your house, but. There are a lot more allotments in London than we realise. I was shocked that the places, even in my own ends in East London, the places that I go and see allotments certain time, I'm shocked.
But allotments are pastime. That's what the granddads do now. But that was what people used to do
to grow their stuff.
Yeah. Now they're all like derelicts. Like you might see some people using some.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
It's into penthouses now, isn't it? That's what it is.
Yeah, nah, but I'm saying because it's good because I'm like my Saturday school. Yeah, was it the Saturday school or the homeschooler school? I can't remember which one. Saturday school, yeah. Because we used to take the children to an allotment, yeah, and teach them to grow things in them kind of. No, sorry, it was a homeschoolers group once a week. Yeah, in the morning. Yeah, that was part of the education. Learn to grow some tomato and you know what I'm saying, them kind of things there.
But you know, they learn a lot. Question is like, as in like at the moment, London. Every piece of land is becoming property now. So every piece of land is becoming a property development. So as in like now London, like compared to Birmingham, like, I'm from Birmingham, as in like London, property prices it becomes crazy.
Mad.
I don't know why people are running there. Why like?
Hey, EastEnders, innit?
Yeah, I'm not on it.
That's
you know,
what I'm saying.
man.
Trust me, bro.
When I see beef, I don't run to it, you know,
Like,
fam. Like.
if we in the school,
I used to, bro, but now I can't fold that home.
Man don't even know where I'm going. Everyone's just running like.
even Easter, right?
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's a mad thing, bro. Probably celebrities down there or something.
Yeah, as in like even property prices in London now.
Is that an ethnic thing?
It's crazy. Like compared to
running to when you see beef running towards it, like, or when you see like a hoo-ha, like.
Right now, I think it's a speaker's quality thing, bro.
1400.
Listen, that's the thing.
Birmingham, we can buy it like property for like 100k. London now we're talking at least.
And Manchester City for the Birmingham.
A million
or whatever it is. What I'm trying to say is again like what he's trying to say.
Yeah. In Scotland the same. Like.
But again, it comes back to what you were trying to say as in again.
Whereabouts?
13 grand.
13 grand.
In the Highlands.
Buy that flat out.
It's like it's just outside Glasgow.
You can buy that flat out then.
There's lots of places.
Well, again, it's outside London, obviously, isn't it? You can.
No, but I have heard that the housing thing is very London.
No, but you know that already, innit? Like, as in like London, how London is, as in regards to property prices. Birmingham, you can get a nice property, 100k.
Before I come to London, my full rent on a one-bedroom flat.
See what I'm saying to you?
It was huge.
Listen to this.
I'm saying it was huge. I had a massive bay window.
So like
it was one of those houses.
That's Birmingham, bro. 5 bills.
£400 a month. A whole house.
Birmingham, you get
where's
3
this?
bedroom.
In
5 bills.
Wow.
Yeah, but then this is the thing.
Month.
Yeah,
You can still get London wages in Glasgow, though. You can still get London wages in Glasgow. It might just be a little bit harder.
My sister, she has she paid 180.
Birmingham, you're nice.
180. No, what is it? So bad at talking numbers. What is it? 180.
Exactly.
Yeah, but have you seen the commuting prices though?
Exactly, very cheap.
Have you actually seen the commuting
With a
prices?
garden. A garden has like a big man shed for a husband. Like he's fully.
I need to move, mate.
But then what I'm saying to you is again,
Need the extra bedroom right now.
Imagine I'm living in London, but I'm still getting the same wage that I was kind of getting when I was in Birmingham. So what I'm saying to you is, if you're not making that criteria, as in like that 50 or above, there's no point in living in London, because what you're trying to do is push people out of London. If you're not making that money, they want people to make money. They want the big bucks. If you're not making big bucks, then they're telling you to get out.
People living in Birmingham and then just quickly doing an hour commute to London.
Exactly.
More people to do that.
Very true. Exactly.
What you're paying now? What are they getting on the
Virgin how much it costs to get in a train?
That's how like 2 hours, but you're sacrificing
Yeah, I know.
that.
But
Like you would sacrifice if you've got a big nice house at home and your family's living good at home, and you can work the same job but get a different wage. Why would you not do 2 hours?
That's 2 hours of sleep that I got cut out.
No. But how much it costs to get?
That is hard.
You know how much it costs to get to Birmingham?
I say it's not about a life, boy.
Earlier, like train.
You get me?
It's expensive, isn't it?
Yeah, it's expensive.
So like again, it comes back to the same kind of like concept.
Trust me, bro.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Everything's a bill. Everything's a bill, though. Everyone has different bills to pay. And if one of your bills
But it
prepares
depends on how
to
much
go,
money you're
like,
making or where you're working in it. If you're a banker, if you're like, then obviously you can do that. But if you're not working in it, if you're working in some kind of like, you're not really making that much money, it's stupid, isn't it?
But traveling
Regulate
is
the
expensive anyway. So
Exactly.
If you are working in London and you're traveling in London anyway,
We came off
it's
the
still
same
expensive.
topic anyways, as in the education wise.
Well, yeah, we can conclude that. So we conclude. And
We can do. I was wondering, yeah, we're on, but it's not irrelevant. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it's.
Well,
just,
so
you know
we're
what I
going to
mean?
conclude our corner for now, then. So about the educational stuff. And yeah.
On the basis of the educational,
Oh,
just one
we're
last
not
thing because I was late. Yeah, was it? Did anyone happen to bring out the point of view again when it comes to the media that we need our own infrastructures when it comes to education and the syllabus and what's out there in terms of what the children are being taught?
It was touched
because as far
on,
as
but go ahead.
I just think as a young kid, yeah, I was never taught to break away from the worker mentality.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
Taught, and from it even come from our parents. You go to school, you do primary school, secondary, college, uni. You don't even do BTEC or anything. Like that's
you
what not the smart people do. You do your A levels. Yeah, you do something. You don't do if you do economics is there in it. But you do something that's like prestigious, accounting or whatever. And then most of them, like my brother and whoever's gone to uni, come out, they had debt on them with a degree they couldn't use. And
they can use it, they don't use it themselves.
No, I mean as in like for example, what my brother did the economics thing, innit? And it took him. He works in RBS now, but it took him forever to get there.
But you can
and
do
even
it
once
right.
now he's in RBS, he's studying to do something else.
No. When you're kind of going into educational system, most of the things that you're learning in the educational system is history. It's old.
Yeah, exactly.
So then, how are you going to apply that old system into a new system that is for the future in a workplace?
Exactly.
So how am I going to employ someone like that?
It's a good point. The education system at the moment is still industrial revolution model in the digital age. So it's like, yeah, you know what I mean? But
there's a lot of improvements to be done in it.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the education system's like in China, but they're more advanced than us as people.
At the moment, yeah.
No,
Even Russia's more advanced.
Can I just say they do some madness? Let's just put on there about China what they do to the Muslims at the moment. It's absolutely disgusing.
I've heard about that. Yeah.
But as a unit, they're thriving.
They 100%, because my cousin went there to China and she was educated in China, and she told me like how they're very strict when it comes to like education wise, how much hours they do, and everybody likes, as in like they respect what they, like in order for, like a lot of people respect that.
Though? But am I right in saying they got?
They're gonna sweat still.
Am I wrong in saying China go ham when it comes to production though, like production?
Yeah,
of exports.
But again, a lot of that is exploitation as well, kind of cheap labor.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is even now, off the topic slightly, I feel like the way China's invested in Africa, pretty soon they're gonna move that production and workforce to Africa, fully, and force the Africans to work at their expense.
Fully. What's going on with China-Africa relations right now is a madness. That's another subject for another time. Yeah, that's another subject for another time. Another subject for another time.
What are we gonna do about it?
You get me?
But boot them out. Change the topic. If you boot them out, who's gonna buy the resources?
Who's gonna buy?
If you boot out the Chinese, who's gonna buy the resources?
A billionaire. We have to find a billionaire.
That's a whole next subject, man.
What black man is gonna do that?
A black billionaire.
That's a new
topic. That's the next subject.
That's the next topic.
When you're hungry, you're gonna sell out.
Go through the education system. At the end of the day, like we have all of our educational policy makers are white rich.
People don't want to eat, so
Let's speak. Sorry.
All of our education
My Somali
policy
brother.
makers are white rich men who have never taught a day in their lives in the classroom. Like I've seen what the educational secretary, he came to observe one of my lessons not too long ago. And he's never taught a day in his life. Like, come on.
And that's a crime. That's a crime.
It is a day in his life. So until our kids are sitting in those board meetings and making those decisions, there's not much we can really do about the curriculum. So we need to get our kids learning
But maybe we
and
need
going
to
through the system in order to defeat it ultimately.
but maybe we need to instill our own sort of standard of education in our children. Like a lot of people are saying that they don't see a lot of black role models out there so the black people can't aspire. But
Absolutely.
but how about instilling something in the black children themselves so they don't always have to look outwards? They don't always have to look at examples of people to follow.
But that's why you should have more black teachers. If you have more black teachers, black male teachers, then the black males that are currently at a disadvantage in this country have some sort of role model within the school.
Interesting statistic.
But the most basic teaching institution, is mother and father at home.
Exactly. Yes.
Wow. But it's your father though, majority of the time.
Well, I had a pops at home.
Yeah, that's not the majority. Our substantial amount of time.
He might have been doing a lot of shifts back and forth, but I still had the presence of a father at home. And a mother.
To give you a meeting, you know what I'm saying?
You know what? Because kids always call their teachers mum. I don't know many times that mum. And you know why that is, right? It's because you spend more time
kids call their teachers mum
than you do at home. When you think about the whole day that you're in school.
Can't relate, I'm not old enough yet.
No, I used to call my teachers mum all the time.
Is it?
I never used to call my male teachers dad. I used to call him mum sometimes as well. But it would just be like, mum,
Gender fluidity, Gender fluidity. In this time,
But the point that I'm making is that you spend more time in school the same way that we spend more time at work than we do in our own homes.
Yeah.
Jedi, stop. What are you doing? We spend more time in school, so that's what I'm saying. So we need the role models there. So if your dad is out doing night shifts and whatever, you've got two parents, you don't see your dad much, there needs to be a male role model that can kind of guide you and. Yeah, it's a role model, isn't it? That's what they need in the schools.
Interesting statistic that came out.
How do these role models get into the school?
The black males.
The education.
They get the education, but it's about pushing them in that way, to go that way, to make it something that is interesting.
But it can be difficult because I know a lot of I'm associated with people like Angie Mohammed and like he's prolific. Like he gets into bare schools doing workshops on all kind of different things, film breakdowns and history and self-development, them kind of things. There, a guy called Angie Mohammed, but he's like one of very few who has that level of access. Nobody actually knows how he's able to, like, he's totally independent. And gets into all these schools across the country and is able to do this stuff, innit? Whereas there are a lot of people that are trying to do that kind of work. It's not as easy. In fact, even me, like, when the school that I actually went to, one of my friends, when we grew up as adults here, became a teacher. I was actually teaching at the school that I actually went to. She brought me into the school, to do creative writing workshops with some of the young people there. And some of my old teachers kind of conspired against the thing to basically stop the thing, You know what I'm saying? Like some things like that happen, you know what I'm saying? I went back to my old school, to cover, you know what I'm saying? Like so it's like I know that the school environment is not always conducive to the extracurricular.
100%.
Just what I'm saying, like, so
they fear what is the narrative that is perpetuated to these kids.
Right.
That's what they fear.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, so there's a need for that. There are many people that are not trained teachers that have the skills or the resources to be able to provide certain services, not necessarily on a year-long basis, but programs. There are a lot of people that do programs, and so I think maybe there's work that needs to be done in terms of how we get these people into those institutions. And there's a statistic here to tap onto what you were saying, because it came out a few years ago that something like 55% of black men, young black men with a degree, are unemployed. This is not so qualified, like, you know what I'm saying? With a degree, are unemployed, like 55%. I'm not sure where it is now. This was 3 years ago. This came out, but yeah, so it's a lot. It's a lot. You know what I mean?
That's higher than half. Literally.
So even the issue with even getting black teachers into institutions is there's already a syllabus there. How do they start to, like you're saying, your thing got shut down when you were doing some extracurricular stuff. Now, how does a teacher who teaches mathematics on a daily basis, how does he translate that into some sort of a mentoring program by which he teaches the other black disenfranchised or whatever children, how does he break out of mathematics in order to teach that to the children?
That's a very good question.
It's a very good question.
So we're talking about, like,
it requires your teachers to go above and beyond. So I'm an English teacher, and I absolutely hate teaching Shakespeare. I hate teaching George Orwell. I don't feel like the kids are benefiting from it at all. I don't feel like the kids can relate.
How old is these kids? Sorry.
Pardon?
How old are they?
From year 7 to year 11, so they're what?
Yeah,
like
secondary school, 11 to 16.
12 to 16. So I love post-colonial literature, and a lot of the time these kids aren't exposed to it. So there's a bookshelf I keep on top of who's taking what. I love it. The kids love it. So it's doing those things. Teachers can do it. They can break out of their subject and give kids like that real kind of cultural nourishment, things that really kind of appeal to them.
So
but
you
it takes.
Would you agree that, say in the workplace, if you come across as too woke or too willing to depart from the narrative, you can become a target as well?
Yeah,
like,
of course you do.
From what I've witnessed, like workplace racism, it's like the most sophisticated form of racism.
Well, you don't want your boss to see you.
No. Exactly. But it's the most real, and it's like you don't truly face or witness racism until you see it in a workplace environment. It's so sophisticated, it's so subtle, it's so behind closed doors.
100%, which is why you have to be just as subtle as them.
You have to be, yeah.
So I'm not sitting here saying why are we teaching kids Shakespeare.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do that, but I'm also gonna do
in the language that they understand.
Exactly. No one's gonna sit there and criticize me because I'm telling these kids to read Doris Lessons
because you've built up that rapport, that respect
like,
already.
Of course.
She genuinely like buys books written by black authors. No. She buys Arabic books, books written by Arab women and men, and like she literally is. She does go above and beyond to help these kids. Like,
no, it's true. And I think that's an example of it. To answer the question, I thought about it, but it's going to require the organisation of teachers. Yeah,
So
it's
like
going to require the teachers' unions. Yeah, and I know, like my brethren Dali and was a teacher, and he works in the Black Teachers Union as well. It's going to require those unions to organise themselves. Like for things more than increasing their pay, and I'm not saying that like teachers should be paid more. Yeah,
but then
are
you gonna like if we be realistic about it? I think because she's young and new to teaching, that's why she's got so much passion. I feel like the older teachers, it's just
I hear
no
you.
passionate anymore. The money's not like reflecting the effort, and then as you get old, the more you've been putting effort in. Because the money isn't there, you end up being more lazy. Like you're not sitting there 5-6 hours after work still marking. You're probably like, I'll do that a bit later. You just become lazy because the pay isn't reflective of the amount of work.
Nah, it's mad, fam. I've got 6 students, to take home work and mark, let alone 30 something, bro. Like I can't, like 30 something
right there.
is. You see what I'm saying? It's a mad thing, bro. Like I don't envy it. It's like teaching is one of the most unthankful jobs in the society at the moment. And the reality is, like, are you familiar with hip hop Shakespeare?
Yeah.
Right. So and I think like the way I destroyed Shakespeare in school. I ain't read Shakespeare since school. I was a G, Like man tore up Shakespeare, yam it up and spat it back at the teacher. What? But like, I ain't read it for since then, innit? So I don't know how good I'll be at it at the moment. But the way this guy breaks down Shakespeare, like I have to admire the thing, bro, because my man's, he's not only understands it, but my man's putting it in verses and putting it on beats, and like it's a different level of. But I'm saying that I feel like them little things like that. Like if the education system was serious, they'd see that and take this guy's model, and it would be national curriculum.
So do you think like
if you want Shakespeare to live in the education system, this guy has taken it and made it relevant using a cultural art form that is relevant to the children in these areas, and they like if people. You know what I'm saying?
Let's not get it twisted. It's too black. It's too ethnic. Like,
but it's not too black when you want to give Miss Dynamite MBE. You see what I'm saying? So it like
who happens to be your sister as well.
Right, you see what I'm saying? But if you can give Miss Dynamite MBE, you can take her brother's program, and you see what I'm saying? Like that makes sense to me. I don't know, but like but yeah.
Should teaching? I was just thinking, should teaching be a KPI based job then? Like where teachers
so I don't know what one of them KPI,
key performance indicators, isn't it?
Right, see.
So the
teachers I'm not in the institutions, the lingo misses me certain time, but
So the teachers are set targets, right?
Yeah.
And then they're weighed against like the performance of the children that are under them.
Yeah.
That way, if they've gone up above and beyond, it should somehow like permeate the children. It should be seen in the performance of the kids.
Right.
they could.
We are though, but it's not necessarily to do with kind of like cultural capital. It's more so to do with their grades and what they end up leaving with. So like schools have all of these crazy progress, like schools are all measured by like progress 8 scores now. So if they do not reach that progress 8 score, like it's crazy.
But if they do,
if you go above your progress 8 score, for example, officers don't even come and respect you.
See, that's what I'm saying. So that there should be rewarded when the teachers do go above and beyond, and it causes the children underneath them to progress further. They should be rewarded.
That's academics though. There's a huge difference between academic. Like we can educate these kids so that they're all coming out with 8 stars, but 8 stars doesn't create a wonderful, knowledgeable person.
If you look at the woman that won the Teacher of the Year award, she won Teacher of the Year award because she went out her way to learn the children and to understand the children.
language
of her children.
In her class.
But that's above and beyond.
Yeah, that's
Is she getting paid more? I don't know now.
No,
but
hell no.
But
she's not getting paid.
She got $1 million. Did she not get $1 million?
Yeah, she did.
$1 million to use dollars. All right, to use in the education system and to put it into things that she was interested in. But she, that just shows you they're rewarding it on the level because so many people were saying this is fantastic that she's done something. But there's many teachers that do that already, and it just shows you that.
So maybe it's awareness thing then. If people are more aware, they'll do more sort of this calling to and urging the education system to recognise the people who are actually doing a good job.
You would hope
but then
so.
you have to remember it is an awareness thing, but then how much time does that woman have to put in a sacrifice from her own day-to-day life in order to do that?
I can imagine.
Some of us have wives, husbands, families, kids, moms, dads. Not everyone can do that.
Yeah. Do you believe
on top of our 12-hour working day?
Do you believe teaching 30 students in one class is too much?
I think so.
Yeah, because one of the problems,
I think it is.
Me remembering being a student,
I actually it was part of one of our training days, I think last year. But apparently there have been like studies gone into it whereby there is no evidence that class size affects a child's learning. Personally, I don't feel class size is. In fact, I like teaching more kids.
Yeah. I think that's no, I don't know where the research comes from, but I'm relatively sure that they wouldn't allow certain class sizes in the top schools in this country. So if I can't remember what the class sizes of Eton and Harrow are, but they're significantly smaller than the inner cities. Yeah, and I think that it's only the idea is that it's about developing student-teacher relationships. So it's just more difficult to develop relationships with 30 than it is to do with 10. Just what I'm saying.
What kind of relationships? Are academic ones or personal?
Both. Yeah. I don't think they could be, but
they could be personal with there's a boundary to the
right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. At the same time, I agree with you, in the sense that class sizes in and of themselves should not be a barrier to being able to relate to your students. Just what I'm saying. But I think that the culture of education probably facilitates a vibe whereby it's difficult to do that with so many. I don't know. I don't work in schools, innit? So I don't know.
From your point of view as a child in school.
Yeah, me as a person, I'm one of them people that if we can all relate. If we focus on something, we know we're going to learn it because we're interested. Yeah. A lot of these subjects I was not interested in.
Same, bro.
But when I do listen, my favorite lesson was maths. When I was hard at maths, but obviously if the mind wanders off somewhere else, you're going to get left behind. But one of the problems is that teachers think that just because the minority of students said they understand, they think the rest of the class understand. And there's some students that might be too nervous to tell their teacher, wait, I don't understand. I felt like that at school.
All mock them.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's what happens in school. If somebody didn't know the answer to something, you're all mocking them.
Exactly.
If they're something dumb, you're all mocking them.
So having a smaller class size will help you keep track of that.
I see what
to be fair, little Billy.
I remember how I was taught, and I feel like I was taught very much like you. And now I'm on the other side of the classroom. I feel like it's completely different. What teachers and how teachers are trained to teach is completely different to how my teachers were taught. Now you've got this whole kind of training system where you have to check students understand before you move on.
Right.
Your marking has to be very individualized.
Right. It has improved. I've checked my sister's school.
But that's the point.
The highest, sorry, let me finish. The highest leverage thing to, it's the way we mark, I don't give the same feedback to every student.
Right.
I give individualized feedback to every single student based on the weaknesses in their work, and then that will, of course, so it's all very much individual, as opposed to like let's just move on from this now.
On the class sizes thing, though, I think that's where it comes in, because obviously for a teacher, marking 10 people's work is just less work than marking 30. So so I think that in terms of that level of, if you're going to have to pay that level of attention, just what I'm saying, to each child, having 30 over the course of a week, I can see how that would be a lot. I can see how 10 would make you a more effective teacher.
We need more teachers. We need more teachers.
Teachers are human as well. I'm sorry. Teachers are human as well. So, like, if you're a naughty kid, your teacher's not going to like you, and they're not going to be wanting to push you because they're not going to like you. Do you know what I mean? But it's just a human thing to do. They're not going to
be naughty. Fix up yourself then, so your teacher can like you.
Yeah, but you know, we can't all bring teachers apples and that. But do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of like, it depends. If you don't like that subject, you're not listening to that subject. You're automatically, by not listening, being a bad student in that subject.
Exactly.
But it's just there's no interest. I don't want to learn about 1960s in Scotland. I'm sorry, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. But I've got to sit there for an hour and listen to you talk about it. It's not interesting.
Yeah, but could that not be down to delivery? How you actually deliver the information to people?
Yeah, but they've got like, so for me, like in school, in the history class, or it was a social class or whatever, they wheeled in a television and taught black history through roots. That's what they did in my school. And they were just like, oh, here, look, this is black history, and it was roots. And for me, I know black history is bigger than that, and I was taught it was more than that. But everyone else in my class, they learned that's what black history is, and that's it. That's all it was. It was done.
Do you find that throughout the different cultural groups, you might have a different teaching style? Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, because I lived in Scotland and no one really cared. I feel like that's obviously, but these are the same people now that are having issues with integration with black people because they're not being taught on different people. And then we've got the same. These are the majority of people that are saying yes to Brexit and all this kind of stuff.
Let me give you an example, right?
No, I'm just, you know what I'm saying? But they don't want immigration, they want immigrants in the country.
Let me give you an example. If you look at
the
Christian church, right, when they're delivering their sermons and so forth, look at the black church versus like the non-black church, and you'll see a different delivery, right? But they're pretty much saying the same information, right?
I haven't noticed that.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that concept might actually also work within the actual teaching of certain types of children. There might be a different way of delivering stuff that can be easily more digested.
No, it's definitely the case. It's definitely the case. Like in the sense of, I was educated here. My dad was educated in Jamaica. Yeah, and like even parents coming to the school, he said like he couldn't understand when he used to come to my school certain time, like the culture of the school, like because you know when parents came to the school when he was being raised, people roll out red carpet and you know what I'm saying, like you know come in and they're making your tea and coffee and there's something there, whatever. It's over here it weren't like that. You see what I'm saying? It's like teachers are running from you, them kind of things there. So it's a kind of, you know, it's a different kind of thing. And then little things like they used to do like times tables, like after every lunch, yeah, in the afternoon, reciting times tables from 2 to 12. But in rhythm, you know what I'm saying? 2 is 4. 2, you know what I'm saying? Like going through like that, and all to this day, and then recite the chapter, sorry, the books of the Bible, yeah, from Genesis to Revelation, and then backwards, yeah, you know what I'm saying? So all to this day, well, that's not a Christian no more, but he can recite that all to this day in his sleep, yeah, and they kind of think that, but the style of it is different. It's just what I'm saying, like, you know what I mean? And so yeah, and I think that is particular in the sense of one of the reasons why we're at a disadvantage. Even if the teachers in the society had the best of intentions, yeah, is the cultural differences. Like in terms of our children, there are cultural differences that I don't even know if the education system is capable of addressing.
But that's why I feel like the education thing, yeah, shouldn't just be left to teachers. It should be a combination, yeah, of what the children are what the foundation the children have at home and what they take outside.
Yeah.
Education. But that's the thing. My thing is, yeah,
you should make the
you have to. You have to. Like if you're going to have kids, yeah, then you have to give them the time. Like, sorry, one of the two of the parents or 50-50 up. You have to. And that's what it comes back to. Like when the brother was saying as well about like liking subjects. Yeah, I was one of those people who gravitate towards certain subjects. But the way I was patterned at home was, yeah, if you come home with shit grades, you're gonna get your ass beat.
Beaten, literally.
So I had to concentrate regardless. You know what I'm saying? So I'm thinking, if the kids are principled from home, that when you go to school, you might not like everything that you're going through, but it might be necessary for you to progress in life, then we might not get a lot of kids maybe not like acting up in class or turning the other way by disciplining them. But I was also going to come back to how do we establish that kids have understood everything in class? Because you were saying that we can't go by now, without seeing if the kids all understand. Now, is that by means of questioning them in the class?
Yeah, good
or
question. So
is
like
it
every week or so, I will do like some kind of quiz, some kind of written piece of assessment that I will then go back and mark. I will mark absolutely every single one of them, identify like the common misconceptions. So you've written this because you think this, you've written this because you think that. I will then create like this huge class feedback sheet, and on that feedback sheet every single person will have a bit of like feedback, and they will have to go back, rewrite that work based on the feedback and implement what I've told them.
I've seen
From
it, it's
there-
long. Like it's
It's
long.
long.
As a kid, it's long. Like I'm not a kid, but I've seen it.
She's
And I'm like,
helped me sticking them sheets.
and I'm just like, this is long. Like I would have hated to do this in school because I've already written this. Why are
Yeah.
you making me write it again?
Do you know what?
Because you
When
don't
they
understand.
rewrite it, we mark that, and if you haven't rewritten that properly, you're gonna best believe it will do it again.
That's mad though. I used to actually have to do that as a kid myself.
So-
if I did come up with a rubbish piece of homework or essay, the teacher would actually put it back to me and say, this is whack. Go back and repeat it.
It's funny thing, you know.
That's just my school. I can't, like, don't take my word as gospel. Like every teacher's doing this. This is just like my school. We are serious when it comes to.
It's a different type
Is
of
your school
school.
is it an academy or?
It is an academy.
Are academies run differently from like just normal state school?
They are.
The eternal debate, where that's a contentious issue right there.
Because
In
class. I don't know. I just kind of got this vibe that what I understood is that in academies, maybe because they're, I don't know if they're privately funded or whatever, and they need to like make certain certain stats that, you know, like if kids mess up or whatever or act up, they're easily excluded. And
So my school has been open for 6 years, and in those 6 we do not exclude kids. We haven't excluded a single kid.
That's
Like,
impressive.
it's a huge thing in my school. We do not,
That's a unique
based on
thing.
stats, based on like where we know the kids end up, whether it's in a PRU, whether it's in jail, whether it's on the road, no education. Like we know the consequences, so we don't.
What part of
point blank
London?
Period, we don't exclude kids.
What part of London, if you don't mind me asking?
Southeast.
Okay.
South.
What about competition?
That's probably why though, because it's so heavily.
Can I
Like,
say-
Sorry, what we say about South?
Heavily what?
no,
East
I-
London, West London.
Sorry, now let's just be real, innit? South London generally, because of rates of crime, and how they link to ethnicity, and the kids that come to your school, a lot of them are probably Caribbean, from Caribbean background, African background, and what you've probably previously seen from those areas are kids from the same backgrounds grow up, either end up in jail, killed, or murderers and drug dealers
But
and
there's
whatever.
no
So
black teachers teaching them, black men teaching them. That's the worst thing.
Family breakdown.
But do you know what I'm saying? Like that is, there's schools like that are just like that, but there's no black males teaching these children.
yeah.
That's the worst thing
Is
about it.
is there? Do you know what? It's bad, yeah. But I just thought to myself, if I came up in an area like that, would I really want to go back into that same thing and have to deal with like the mentality of kids that I grew up with that are like, you know, like the street is the
It's
only way to do
interesting,
things.
but this is the part I'm trying to make. It's an interesting thing, yeah. Because like I said, I see a lot of black men doing that, but not in teaching. Yeah, just this. I'm saying it's like people are doing it in, like I said, in PRUs or support workers and that kind of things there. Like so, there's obviously something about what she said about the access to the career, the teaching career path, so to speak. What you have to go through might be more difficult for people to get through, but there is definitely a need. We've been talking about this for a generation. I've been going to, since I was a child, I've been going to education conferences about black children, and people have been saying we need black men in the classroom. Seriously, it is a mad thing.
I come obviously from like a mixed heritage family.
Yeah.
My mother.
Why'd you say obviously?
I know.
Yeah, that one obvious.
I was just saying
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah.
Well, because I think I mentioned it before. That's
Okay,
why I
okay.
said, oh, yeah,
Famous,
like,
famous.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah. Sorry. No, I often mention it. Like,
Yeah.
so.
Okay.
Listen. So, I feel like like I've been taught obviously about being black and whatever, like you get taught about being black. I can't remember what just happened. I'm so sorry. Like just.
First you're saying you're mixed, obviously.
What did he say before?
I was talking about I'm going to conferences. Yeah, I was talking about going to conferences as a child, and the people have been saying for a generation that they need to see more black men in the classroom and that kind of thing. You missed it. It's gone. If you get back,
Bell's very important as well.
If you get back, bring it back. It's a bad thing. One thing though that I've noticed outside of the academics of it, is working because I get an opportunity to do different things with children, innit? Right? Coming from where I'm coming from, so it's like. Because of the things that I do, like if I come to do a creative writing workshop, sometimes most of the times, the first thing I do is ask them about themselves. The hardest questions, that children find to answer oftentimes is about themselves. Who are you? Like, what are your skills, gifts, and talents?
I'm not gonna lie, I still struggle with that now.
This is what I'm trying to say, fam. Self-awareness, self-awareness is one of the most important things that you can have in life. And we're not taught it in school. You ask, what are your skills, gifts, and talents? This is directly, like, you're going to define your passion and your career paths based upon what you're good at. And the children don't know. 13, 14, 15-year-olds.
Is this a problem specific to ethnic kids, though? Or just kids as general?
I'd say it affects us more.
Right.
Just what I'm saying. Like, you know what I mean?
Because I'm thinking to myself, the kids that do have self-awareness, it's not, they never got it from any of their teachers. Either there's the anomaly of the person who becomes self-aware on his own, or it's been instilled into him.
I hear that.
He's got something. He's got something behind him.
I hear that. I do think that when it comes to because school is the environment for learning. There is a certain level of confidence and self-awareness that develops in that environment that I think is specific to that environment if it's cultivated. Just what I'm saying. Like it's different. Like I'm dealing with this at the moment, because I have a 6-month-old and I'm also studying child development just to be a good parent. What's it called? But learn. So, for example, in learning these things, you learn about how being responsive develops the child's self-confidence.
Being responsive
to the child's needs.
Okay.
So like,
if the child cries, that will leave him alone.
Although I'm in problems with my partner.
Last night it was peak.
Same, I had to humble myself to my partner, because she said, "Leave him alone, working man." I was like, "Yo, what?" But he went to sleep, so I had to humble myself, women's intuition and that, But in the sense of the fact that because being responsive, not just when he's crying, but it develops. He becomes confident about his environment. Just what I'm saying. But that's different to becoming confident in the ability to learn and work independently from the basis of having learned. So it's like you're mastering this particular discipline. That's what I'm saying. And I think that's it's related, but it's a different thing. Like your parents are not teaching you maths directly. Cause obviously we should be helping with homework and that. You know what I mean, right? But I think there's something unique. There's a unique position that a teacher is in terms of developing the child's self-awareness. That's what I'm saying, because they're the teacher. That's what I'm saying, and because of that particular relationship with the child. So that you're talking about bringing in books, into the classroom from different cultures and the kind of things there. That in and of itself develops self-awareness. Because learning our nursery rhymes and that at home is different from now we're in an educational environment where there's prestige associated with this thing, and I'm reading African writers series more than my father that gave me this book to read. It's a different thing. That's what I'm saying. Like, you know what I mean? It's different. Like, I know my family from Jamaica, bare nursery rhymes and the kind of things there. But when I read a book on Jamaican patois from an academic perspective, it's very different. That's what I'm saying. So I think you're right. But I think it's multi-dimensional in that way.
I remember what I was going to say. So
go ahead, go ahead. You should have cut me off when you remember.
Come from a mixed background. I know what I was told, and because of the way, obviously I think from my parents, from what my mum went through and whatever, from her childhood and her upbringing and whatever, and because she was quite a young mum, to be fair, being 20 and having 2 children is pretty young.
Real
it's
talk,
pretty
real
young,
talk.
and you're growing up with your child, so we've got
yeah.
obviously a different dynamic relationship and whatnot. And it's been good. I love it. I went at it from a different way. I mean, I learned a lot myself from that. But what my mum didn't do is tell me what I should be or what I can be, and I feel that's a lot of parents' issues, is not realising they're just being parents. Do you know what I mean? And because, like I said before, they don't have the skills and whatever for life. They're just, you know what, let me make money, let me put food on the table. And they're not sitting thinking, you know what, let me push my child. But the comfortable parents are. The ones that are comfortable are the ones that you can be an astronaut. So then that's why I think that's the issue, why we don't have many men in education or men that
Which ones are the comfortable? Not too many black men going
I'm
into
saying
space,
comfortable,
though, are they?
financially comfortable, or maybe in a position.
No, but how they can be comfortable? Are they single parent or mom
like
and dad?
no, a 2-house family, I feel. Unless you're like really like.
So you mean if the father is present, that's comfortable family?
No, it depends, because you both could be struggling to. It's financial.
I get what you're saying.
It's you got to be financially comfortable and also have a care system. Of
I get what you're saying. I totally get what you're saying. Because
well, yeah, kind of.
I totally get what you're saying. If I could translate what you're saying, tell me if I'm wrong. But families that are hand to mouth and over concerned, with surviving as a family, find less headspace for cultivating their child's inner talents.
And I feel that's the reason why we have gang violence.
Right. I get what you're saying.
Because of the fact that they need to go out and work.
I get what you're saying.
It's not about like helping the kids.
I get what you're saying.
I'm not sure I fully agree with that sentiment inside of white Caucasian people. Just as a general base, I don't find that working class hand to mouth British people raise their kids on becoming working class. I feel like they do push their children and give them the message that they can be better.
I don't know.
I think this hand to mouth thing for me is more. I've seen it in my community. It's more African.
There's two things there. I hear what you're saying. I think that we live in a society. Let's not get it twisted. That has racial dynamics. So there is more room for the working class white child to go off the rails and come back to something than there is for us, right? So that's just the reality, right? So but as well, and I feel like and I think there's a cultural difference, right? There's a cultural difference as well, in the sense of like if you're like a chav growing up in Essex, you're in your own community.
I was gonna say, but
alright, so excuse me, right? You know what I'm saying, For anybody that finds the terminology offensive, right? But like there's a community dynamic that they've been there for time, innit? There's a continuity of community. Whereas a lot of us over here, because we're like second generation, a lot of us, there's not a continuity of community, and even the communities that our grandparents built over here are not here in the same way. So it's like there's a social cohesion that our grandparents may have had that may have kind of compensated for certain issues that we don't have today. Like our children don't know each other, my G. And that's another reason why there's gang violence on the roads, fam. Like our children don't know each other. This is what I'm saying.
Stabbing up their own cousins.
This is what I'm saying. Like it's a mad thing, bro.
On a real
That's
thing.
a real thing, bro.
I know a brother. I know a brother, old school brother from Brixton. And I'm not even gonna mention his children because his children are bait. But literally, one of his sons, got into a beef where it nearly came up to stabbing each other with a cousin of his. Because he's had so many sons and stuff. They don't even know where they're at. To the point where I was rolling with. Imagine I've gone to school with you. And I'm rolling with your brother. And I don't even know you two are related.
Mad thing. Mad thing.
It's peak.
Mad thing. Yeah, man. Keep it. Yeah, man. You know.
Why is that? If they don't know even that.
No, but that's what they're saying. Like the family unit's not there. The dad's obviously it's in whatever he's decided that he wants to have more than one child with more than one woman, and that's.
So isn't it the problem more in a family environment than in a school environment?
Yeah, but that's what we're discussing all around.
But the school environment, is it really actually for them children?
Of course not.
Yeah,
That's
that's
another thing we've got to think about.
that's a good point. Is it for
Because
But how can
because
culture
then
be relativized?
you're learning something of
That legs tiring,
meaning that you're learning something of an English heritage, which if you're coming from an African or an Asian background, it doesn't correlate.
But you don't. But the thing
kind
is
of been
as
there
well,
still.
and
Education is education. It doesn't matter if it's white,
No,
black.
but it's British education, and British education touches on what they want you to know about the British in
Exactly.
itself. They don't talk about how they colonise other countries.
Yeah.
They talk about the greatness of Britain, and us coming from different cultures. We have to learn that. That's
But
it.
even
Like,
that,
there's no option of anything
but even
else.
that, when they do teach us about our nations being colonized. What they don't teach is before we were colonized. What they don't teach is the educational systems that we had, the universities that we had,
Well,
the technological advances that we had, the architecture, all of that stuff is somehow like it's might sound out of place, but even I saw a picture of Mansa Musa. Can you believe? Yeah, white.
I saw
White.
that. I saw that.
White.
I've seen that.
How can white? How can a Malian?
You can go and even see, you can even go and just go into the Victorian Albert Museum.
Yeah, Mali.
You go to the go to the
Malian,
Victorian
sorry,
Albert Museum. Yeah, there's a statue of a guy called Saint Maurice, who was an Egyptian from Aswan, right? If you see it, he's got curly white hair with a white English face.
It's more relatable to the British though. That's why.
Exactly.
Like you're not gonna learn on say that. We know this from the Egyptians already. Like from knowing that these people were kings and queens, it automatically brings you down as a nation of people and elevates another nation of people. And that's not what the narrative
That's why
was.
you know what you're saying about roots.
Yeah.
I don't think that's even necessary. Like, if you
100%
want to teach
not.
culturally relative education and like history, you got to focus on the good, like the bits that made the glorious past. What share have we had in civilization?
I'm not gonna lie.
What's the point of focusing on the negative in civilization?
Watching Roots as a 13-year-old kid and then Armistead, that nearly radicalized me. I'm not gonna lie. I imagine sitting in a classroom and seeing like people that look like you've been whipped, thrown off like vomiting on each other, and then they're just like, from in my head, I looked to, and everyone just looked like a smug, rich slaver who was white. Like literally, I had a girl next to me, thinking I'm gonna head top her. As soon as this film's done, she's out. As a 13-year-old kid, hey, I don't think those things are they're conducive, to uplifting or teaching anyone. Don't show them these roots. Even though there's a remake of Roots as well. I think that's even worse.
I watched Roots in a classroom of white people with a white teacher as the only black person in the whole school, and I watched it, and it was very like I was so ashamed of my blackness at that point.
Did you not beat up anyone?
And what impact did it have on the white students?
Like they didn't care. They giggled at little bits, like naked bits or whatever, like a little giggle and stuff. Exactly, it was entertainment, and I was embarrassed to be black at that point. And that, as an adult now, thinking about it, I'm like, that is a real shame what they did, because they didn't care about me as a black student.
Impact.
Exactly, and I should never be ashamed to be black because of slavery. Like that's not something to be shameful about. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't something that my people did.
Question.
Why is it the slavery part of our black history is pushed so much in other part of our history?
That's the point, isn't it? Is if that's the image that you've got, can you aim above?
The brother asks, why is it that the narrative of slavery is pushed above all other aspects of African history?
Because it's the weakness. It shows the weakness of the black people. It shows them that they're weak because they were able to be colonized. They were able to be treated as slaves for over 400 years. That's what it shows straight away. Because you automatically think, oh, these are a group of weak people then. Because if they weren't weak, why was it happening for over 400 years? Like,
it
why?
also means that they don't have to address their theft.
Maybe I'm saying problem solution. Maybe the solution for us is because they push it so hard in the schools, we should not talk about it so much. We should focus on more other things. Because they've already been pushed so much in schools. When we meet us together, we shouldn't talk about slavery.
You know
well, I try not to, but we were talking about specifically education, which is the reason why we brought it up. So on a normal day-to-day basis, I'm not.
So the question is, this is our call, and it's focused on African and Caribbean children. It's like, what should we teach the next generation? That's the current topic. That's gone a lot of places, but that's the basic narrative.
You need to teach them about slavery. You need to teach them, understand why we don't have our language, why our last names are different, why we suffer from certain ailments. You have to tell them everything.
But how
Not
about
telling them about slavery is instantly putting them at a place where they have. Why is my name
We're
Smith?
not
Why
saying
is
that they shouldn't
why
be
do I
taught
speak
slavery.
English?
We're
Why
saying
do
that
I-
it shouldn't be at the forefront of
No,
black
it needs to be.
No.
It needs to
So
be.
listen
you
to this,
feel like
yeah.
it needs to be at the forefront of black
Of course
history.
it does.
So you
Bro.
don't feel like
No, because I don't know why my surname's Griffith. Why? I'm coming out of nowhere with that no information. I need to know these things.
So what about? Sorry. What about? So you don't feel like African and Caribbean kids need to be taught that there were African kings and queens, and the technology and everything that came pre-slavery?
Of course they need to be taught that, but they first need to be told why you are in the situation you are in.
No, we should do history from the start to the beginning, not the middle to
Exactly.
not the start.
Yeah.
Say like this is our downfall, and then but before that, do you know what I mean? It's not put so much importance on the
No one's
slavery.
talking about order, I'm talking about it has to be part of the
No,
curriculum.
but what you're saying is that there needs to be importance given to that. Like that should come first.
That's the
and
most
foremost.
vital important.
It's not the
Because you
most.
need to know
It's not the most vital.
why-
It's the most
why-
vital.
Oh, you're telling them.
I'm saying it's the most detrimental to our
You
in our
teach them
history.
the positive things, but
Is
then
there-
they're still. Oh, why do I speak English? Why is my surname this?
There's nothing
there
wrong with
anyone
there's nothing
here
wrong with
in this
speaking English,
circle-
and there's nothing. Go on.
Sorry, is from where? East Africa and was born and raised and educated in East Africa. Because in East Africa, are they told about slavery in schools and made that as that's black history? I'm
Of course
sure it's
not.
But this is what I'm saying. So
Of course not. Why?
So then,
they know why they speak. They have their names. They have their languages. They have their religions. Why do they need to be taught about something which is not part of their history?
All right, listen, bro. I got my
But it's
surname.
part of
Yeah.
black
No. It's
history,
not part
though.
of their history.
part of
It's
bro,
not their history.
Listen, I've got my surname. Yeah. I've got my African surname. Yeah.
And you can point out what village, where.
All right,
what
but as we stand now, I'm in the same position as you.
When it comes to
As we stand now,
education,
I'm in the same- bro,
no,
economically,
no.
economically, how am I better? How am I better off than you?
Don't get yourself entrapped in the economic talk because you lose yourself. What I'm trying to say is, me and you know your grandfather, great grandfather, you know your great grandmother, great. Okay. You know where they were born. You can go back to that, and you have that connection.
But you can't do that.
No, because it's completely severed. Totally destroyed. In 400 years, you can totally rewrite and erase someone's history, language, and surname.
So how is it that we know that a lot of the Jamaicans now are come from Coromantee and Ashanti and Afanti tribes? We know.
You know that's unproven, right? You know you can't.
It's not.
You know
You're
DNA
wrong, though,
can't
you're
tell
wrong.
you exactly.
Forget
what
the,
part of
I
that-
wouldn't even
you're
talk
wrong.
about DNA. I was talking about orally, like just from his oral historical point, which
That's
is an
unproven.
African thing.
That's very
Well,
unproven.
bruv,
That's very
as
unproven.
a Ghanaian, you're telling
mistake.
That's very unproven.
No, it's proven.
No.
It's proven.
As a child of slavery,
It's
that is
proven.
unproven.
As another child of slavery, it's
that the
proven.
slave ship came
What's it
from.
called?
I'm not a child of slavery, so I didn't actually
Where's your
experience
talk?
it. So.
Where's your
Right?
linguistics?
No, first of all,
Where's your linguistics?
but exactly. But this is the point I'm trying to make. The language in Jamaica right now is known as Coromantee.
No,
yeah?
it's patois.
You're going to tell me
You
no.
know why they made it?
You're not
You
gonna
know
tell
why
me
they
no.
made
You're
that
not-
language?
you're gonna tell me
You know
no.
why they made the
Why?
language?
Why? Go on, tell
To
me.
confuse the slave masters so they can talk without having the slave
No,
master
but that's not the
listening
case.
in. But that is the case.
No,
So why is it that there's so
the
many
case.
Jamaican
No, that's-
landmarks which take
This is the
their
point
name
I'm
from
trying to make. It doesn't
Ashanti
make no
language?
sense. Like,
Name one.
Jamaica.
Right, what's it called? Hold
Jamaica.
on. I'll give you another one. I'll give you another one.
Where does the word Jamaica come from?
I'll give you another
Where does the
one.
word Jamaica
One second.
I'm telling you history.
Right, hold on. I'll give you
I'm telling
another
you,
one.
it's
I'll give you another one.
Ghanaian,
Akompong town.
Jamaica. I'm gonna stay.
Akompong town in Jamaica, which is a maroon town, directly Ashanti name. How did they get the name? They never traveled to Ghana to get the name. It's because the name was passed down. Yeah, the town's called Akompong. Yeah.
But where does that do with
But I
language?
think to bring it
It goes back to
No, but
Ashanti.
what does that got to do?
Goes back to Ashanti
let me tell
language.
you.
It
No,
goes
but
back to
what
Ashanti
does that
language.
got to do
Yeah, we should bring it back.
with
Yeah,
the
exactly.
common dialect
It is.
of the Jamaican people?
Again,
No,
that's
but
what I'm saying.
that's not what we were arguing here. We were arguing.
You're saying-
We weren't arguing.
But it's in the patois. That's what I'm trying to say.
No, the patois is used for slave language. It's a slave language so that we can talk
But it's
amongst
not a
ourselves.
slave language.
and the
Okay, so
slave
what? They
will not-
developed. They developed their
It
own
is a
language.
slave
It's
language.
not a slave
You
language.
need to check the history.
I've checked it many times.
Bro, the point was.
This is another conversation.
Yeah.
This is another conversation.
The point I was trying to
This is another
establish is
conversation.
if someone's ill, yeah, it's not conducive to them. Like I say, my missus all the time. She's like, oh, I got a headache, I got a headache.
Yeah.
My thing is, if you're in a positive mind state, that's what's best.
Yeah.
To keep saying, I'm sick,
Yeah.
to victimize yourself is not the good way to.
At the same time, but this is the
I'm
thing
not
to me.
saying,
Yeah,
I'm not
but-
saying don't acknowledge that you're sick. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, it's better to implement some sort of method to get yourself better rather than dwelling on the point that you're sick.
I agree, but at the same time, to get yourself better, you need to know the nature of the sickness, right?
Exactly.
What's it called? Right? But so
It doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to be so important.
No, but I'm
Diagnosis
this
When you
from
out, the initial question was, what should be at the forefront of Black history?
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I got the question. Yeah.
The richness of
Yeah. No, and I'm saying both. This is the reason why. Because you, first of all,
By
when you start,
importance, we're talking about
yeah,
importance.
no, but I'm saying,
priority
it's
given
difficult.
to what?
It's difficult for me to put a priority on it. Yeah. Now, the reality is that there's a balance in it. There was an imbalance of teaching about enslavement, so the balance needs to be addressed in terms of teaching about prior to enslavement. Yeah. That's real, right? But I'm saying that one of the number one questions, and I know this for a fact, like even growing up as a child, one of the number one questions that's going to be asked when you start teaching about all these great African civilizations and blah, 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 blah. So how, if we was there, how, did we get from that to this?
Okay.
Right, we're going to have to go for some stuff.
So can I
create anger.
All right, so can I pose something to you like this,
You create anger. Because then you have your enemy now, and you have a target to lock onto.
Okay.
You make more people angry if you tell history, black people that way. Oh, yeah. By the way,
let's flip it.
By the way, our ancestors robbed you.
Right. So let's
one conversation.
Learning through our ways, and our queen's got your diamonds on her crown.
Okay, cool. So, all right. So look at the mentality of what I'm perceiving to be the mentality of the people in the method that you teach them.
Yeah.
If you first teach them that they were kings and queens and whatever, you pump them up, you motivate them. Then when they learn about their fall, they're already equipped. To deal with that. They might be angered or whatever, but they're motivated.
And I can.
And if you teach,
Right.
If you teach them in the reverse, the standpoint, the origin standpoint is we already flopped.
No, I
we
agree.
already were a failure.
Right.
And this stuff we're being told just to prop us up a little bit.
I'm agreeing with you that you teach people about their heritage from their origin.
You can try and divorce me all you like, but as an Ashanti, as somebody.
Another conversation.
As somebody.
And I thought to tell you up on that, but
you can't take man out of it.
You can't do that. You can't do that.
Listen,
but you can't do that. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong, bro. You're wrong.
They don't have the same mindset.
You're wrong.
They don't have the same mindset.
Let me explain something.
Bro, whatever mindset you can't, whatever mindset you have came from us because you are from us. Whatever mindset
you wanted to leave Africa, you wanted to come here. So shut the fuck up.
Bro,
I didn't want to come here. I'm here due to pure and circumstance.
You're getting disrespectful.
Wait.
You're here because you want money.
You're getting
Your parents left the Caribbean for what reason?
You're getting disrespectful.
What reason did your parents leave the Caribbean for?
You're getting disrespectful.
Because they didn't want to be there.
It's called windback.
You're getting disrespectful.
But you know you can still leave though. That's the thing. You know you can still leave.
It's hypocrisy. Go back to the Caribbean. Go back to the Caribbean.
It's wrong, bro.
Jumping off this. We want to maintain a respectful dialogue.
Exactly.
This is called Our Corner. It's about learning and sharing.
You can't have our corner when man saying
no, he was wrong. You was wrong. You was wrong. Yeah.
That's what I have to address.
No. You was wrong. You was wrong.
You don't know me. You don't know me. So you can't tell me about me.
You was wrong. You was wrong. Bro, be humble. You was wrong. You was wrong. You was wrong. You was wrong. You was wrong, bro. You was wrong. You was wrong. Yeah. You was wrong. No, but you cannot disrespect like that. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen.
These sort of movements, right, is why a lot of the Somali brothers don't even want to get down with man. Because man's going to turn around and say, you're not part of the team. But how can you divorce an Ashanti man from transatlantic slave trade? And tell man about history?
Put it this way.
Your history's warped.
Put it this way. Let me illustrate it like this, yeah? I'm an Ashanti descendant, yeah? Right? The reality is, yeah, as far as I'm concerned, you can't it's like, say for example, yeah, we have a shared ancestor, yeah? Had 2 children. One child was taken, yeah, to Jamaica. I'm the descendant of that child. You're the descendant of the one that stayed. we're still family, bro. You can't divorce the fact that this side of the family lost their son, their brother, whatever. It don't make no sense. It's nonsense. Yeah, no. Hold on. You was wrong and you were disrespectful.
No.
Yeah, so don't listen. No. Bro,
You can't
bro.
say-
Hold on, wait. No. I have not finished. But I have not finished. So I haven't landed. The play is still laying on the ear. All right. Right. First of all, if you're gonna make a point, yeah, then make your point. Yeah, but you cannot disrespect the man, yeah, and tell him about his parents, yeah, and how they come over here for money and anything there. Once you do that, you cross the line. And it's not gonna happen in this conversation. It's not gonna go on. It's out of order. Yeah, it's out of order. It's not your business. 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 Yeah.
Do you know what? I don't even mind talking to a man, yeah. But when he,
that's what I'm trying to say.
My parents are economic migrants. So a lot of other people's parents.
So were my
his parents were economic migrants as well. So don't give me all that spiel about we didn't want to go. We didn't. You still came in it. We're still here. We're still here, brother. We're still here, brother.
And when we came over,
yeah, my
both of us were colonized. Do you know what colonization is? I can't even do
my mentality is one of building with my brothers in it, and I recognise that these brothers, Caribbean, African, whatever, we're brothers in it.
Probably racked up your ancestors and sold them up.
Another conversation.
How about my parents aren't Muslims? My parents aren't Muslims.
Another conversation.
My parents aren't Muslims. My parents aren't Muslims.
Let's have one voice. Let's have one voice.
Yeah, they were. Ashantis did sell their own people. Yeah, they did.
Let's go to the scene.
Do you know who they saw? Anyway, do you know, I'm not trying to offend, man.
No, let's go to the conversation. Yeah, I'm saying it can't be.
There should be a mixture of both.
I'm saying you can't put an importance on it. But I agree that when you're teaching the people about their heritage, yeah, you teach them about from their origin. So if you start in the middle, that's incorrect. Yeah. At the same time, so like because I've never understood the psychology that children are going to feel deficient if they're taught slavery. I've been taught slavery since I can remember myself. Yeah. And it's never made me feel deficient in stuff. It's made me feel sad. It's made me feel angry. It's made me feel all of these things. Yeah. But at the same time, it's not difficult to teach this thing in a way whereby children are not despondent about life, and I've never had that experience. Yeah. At the same time, like when I teach, because I teach these things now, and when I teach about slavery, I teach about Haiti Revolution and Sam Sharp and Paul Bogle, yeah, and you know what I'm saying, them kind of things there. So it's not just we was suffering and we was chained. No, we burnt down plantation and killed a slave master. Yeah, I teach them that too.
But you touch on the point, right? It's how you deliver the narrative, right?
Right.
So for example, when you have like English stories of England versus someone else,
right?
England are portrayed as the good guys,
yeah,
while they're the bad guys.
Right.
I think in the slavery narrative,
yeah,
the school should be betraying the Europeans as the bad guys.
This is the devil,
right? You know
what I'm saying?
Openly,
you know what the best? I would say the best way is to look at the slavery in a business perspective.
Yeah.
And the business perspective will tell you the truth, because it will make you to see what's going on and knowing who the people are.
But you know what though, the business, you see,
because like, for instance, let me just use an example. If I start to go into like the forms of treaties, like okay, now I look at King James, for instance, then I'll say, okay, let's look at the business narrative of it. Okay, I looked at, he had a company that was handed down from him from Queen Elizabeth I, which is called the Virginia Company. What was the Virginia Company doing at that time? This is why we don't even find slave ships, because most of it was cargo. Do you understand? So then I look at what lands were they going to? What countries were they going to? Who were they picking up? And who were they doing the business deals with?
I get what you're saying. To paraphrase, tell me if I'm wrong. People teach slavery from a myopic perspective of the suffering of the so-called slaves. Yeah, that kind of things there. Whereas there's a whole context to it that is left out, which is world economics, because we're talking about a system that facilitated world trade as we know it today. This is why it's not wise to not teach slavery or to teach it less, because the entire economic system as we know it is built on it. Yeah,
but that's what I'm saying. Like he just said, teach it with the actual entirety of it.
Yeah,
like
but
what it was for.
The entirety of it is an economic one, though. It's not.
It's more economic. It's cultural.
It's not restricted to black people or Africans per se.
No. Yes, it's a thing.
It's been done. But what I'm saying is, the reason why we teach it from the myopic part is the point. Is the point of our suffering. They went one further on us. They went one further on us to affect our mentality. right?
No, I
to
agree.
make us think that we're lesser beings, that we're 3/5 of humans or whatever.
And
so
that,
they
and
did
that,
one
and that
over us.
William Wilberforce freed us. Yeah, and Abraham Lincoln. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Brother,
yeah,
if you don't want to be part of it, you're free to dust.
Alright, listen, I feel to change the conversation now and deal with this brother, you know. Like, I feel to just deal with the brother, yeah, I'm getting into that, like...
You're not going to affect the way I talk, innit? I'm going to say we forever.
Man's getting me in my Sam Sharp right now, and I thought I might need to get dealt with.
But you know what? What he's doing is proving that the slavery taught in school is done a disjustice.
I agree.
That's what he's proving.
I
He's
agree.
Proving
I
that
agree.
he's not know the full
I
entirety
agree.
of it,
I
and he's
agree.
coming from the different mentality.
I think it's just a cry out, I think, for attention.
Well,
Right? But the things that he's saying beyond the levels of disrespect that he showed at the moment. Beyond the levels of disrespect that the brother is showing at the moment, yeah, it does show a lack of understanding of what this mass kidnapping of Africans from the continent meant to the continent itself and the nations that were taken. You see what I'm saying? So, for example, if many of us in Jamaica, yeah, are of Ashanti ancestry, it means, yeah, that hundreds of thousands to the tune of millions of people were taken from this nation over 400-year period. What does that mean in terms of the economy of that nation, the families of that nation, the cultural continuity existing within that nation, the labor force for the nation to even develop its own civilization itself? These are questions that are not answered, and so people make these statements about Africans selling Caribbeans, and I always ask the question, at what point in the journey did we become Caribbeans? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, when we left the continent, was it halfway? You know what I'm saying? 3/4 of the way, oh, you're a Caribbean now, you are no longer an African.
A lot of people were ashamed in the sense that they'll say that they're from Carib heritage, and they'll be like, oh, but I'm like, to be fair, like,
we're not African boo-boos, innit? Like that would have said in class. Like.
But that's exactly how it was in school. To be African as a Jamaican child or from like Caribbean heritage was quite shameful. It's like, I'm not African.
Exactly.
Like, and that's what we've been installed into us.
Exactly.
I was just gonna.
Before you jump in, shall we say that's the end of our corner now?
Yeah. Oh, I thought it was already. So.
Yeah, and now we're going to jump into this because it's a bigger discussion. All I'm saying is, and we're going to invite the brother in, of course, the defense claims. I would say is, let us not.
Man's got to be respectful though.
Yeah, but let's
let him say what he wants to say,
respectful. Let's not.
You don't know what sticks and stones.
Content over everything. From your
Come, man, say it straight. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to ITV. Listen.
The question that you asked, like, where does my surname come from? It would be there. So I'm coming from okay, I'm coming from the perspective that I was taught Black history here by my parents and also in Scotland. Okay? So coming from the Scotland perspective, like I said, they gave me roots and they put it on the TV, and that's how we learned Black history. We did a little bit of this and